Now, I'm pretty sure you all would agree with me when I say the Boeing 747 is the most beloved airplane type ever. It is so recognizable, everyone knows the Boeing 747, even my grandma. Pilots love it because it apparently flies so well. And today, everybody, it's time to celebrate this plane and take a look at the first ever 747 that was ever built. Yes, the 747-100 prototype. For that, I went to Seattle's Museum of Flight with a special guest who couldn't be more excited to look at airplanes all day. Today we're gonna find out, well, what does a prototype plane like this look like from the inside?
I think that's enough storage to store 1 million beers.
And what were the challenges this plane faced while it was being tested? Everybody, welcome back to Swiss 01. This is the third video of the Seattle Aviation Museum vlog. We've already checked out the beautiful Concorde and my horrendous Riz.
This landing gear right here on the tail of the airplane. You may wonder, what's this for? What do you think?
To land?
Close enough. I mean, this is actually, of course, the tail landing gear, which comes out to protect the tail from being tail struck. Right, of course, the Concorde practically lands at an angle of this, which is why this new truth comes out.
Ich habe auch, was du mich gefragt hast, habe ich überhaupt gar nicht verstanden.
Egal.
And of course, we had a close look at the 707 Air Force One. Let's jump right in to the 747 then.
Now, buddy, I have quite a long history with, reviewing 747 exhibitions in any way. I've been to the German Museum of Speyer, which has a huge 747 just hanging in the sky. That one was great. Have you ever been there in Speyer? And of course, I've even slept in a 747. Did you ever see that video?
No. Did you sleep with the pilot?
Did you? Anyway, this one right here, this 747-100 is very special because it is the first ever 747 that was built.
September 30th, 1968. First giant 747 is presented to the world. This is a milestone in Boeing history.
Yes, of course, for any new airplane type to be certified, there needs to be a prototype that undergoes millions of testing. And this airplane, the RA001, did exactly that. Before the 747 in itself ever left the ground, there was great concerns about evacuation. How are people from the upper deck going to properly evacuate the flight? To be honest, that test went semi-well, but we all know the FAA, it's okay.
Friday night's test was unsatisfactory because 8 emergency doors somehow were opened rather than the prescribed 5.
How does such a huge airplane taxi at an airport? Here you can see the 747 taxi trainer that Boeing came up with to get pilots used to the height of the 747. I mean, this plane is as huge as a 6-story building. These are all questions that needed to be answered. Let's take a look at this beautiful Pratt & Whitney JT90 engines.
Bald Eagle?
What's the mirror rating on the chrome of the 747-100 engine?
Depends on how much you like what you're seeing in the
You
mirror.
look a lot wider than I am, that's good. Yes, take a look at the beautiful undercarriage right here. An undercarriage that I definitely already know because of the Stockholm experience.
Das ist Stockholm Experience.
Ich hab da in einem fucking 747 geschlafen, weißt du es nicht?
Nein.
Anyway, I think the tires need some shaving.
Let me tell you though, this definitely isn't the first set of landing gear on this airplane. You remember the hard landing?
One serious accident occurred during the flight test program. As this 747 approached the runway, one landing gear was seriously damaged when it struck a concrete embankment just short of the runway. The aircraft settled on the 2 right engines, but the strength of the remaining landing gears was such that they did not fail.
But the year of 1969 was quite a big year. Do you know why?
Tell me.
No, I mean 1969 was the year where the first Concorde flew for the first time and the year where the first Jumbo 747 flew for the first time. I actually didn't think that. I would have believed the Jumbo jet, the 747, is a whole lot older. Anyway, this is the prototype indeed, and we can walk up the stairs. It doesn't have, entrance in the upper deck, unlike the modern 747s.
Do they have one?
Yeah.
Nein.
Doch.
Wenn du in einer 747 bist, läufst du doch immer die Treppe innen hoch. Die haben oben keinen.
How many exits are on the upper deck of a 747-400?
Yeah, no, she's right. They never used the upper deck for boarding. It's only on the A380. So that's kind of embarrassing. But, I mean, you know, the modern 747 upper decks are, of course, a lot longer. Only 3 windows on the 747-100. That's weak.
What I find so cool about this plane, though, is, of course, how all the airlines that ever flew the 747 are kind of just pointed out with their old logo as well. You can tell a few old logos, old design languages is on this plane indeed. All right, let's walk up the stair. I know the 747. I've slept in one that's just like my second home. Literally.
Now, in a prototype plane like this, you of course won't find a cabin that passengers sat in. No, this plane is kind of empty, like my heart. Anyway, one major problem is you actually can't go upstairs, which is kind of the highlight always.
Womp womp.
You're 1 story away from the cockpit here in this exhibition, and you can't even see what went on the upper deck at all.
Some like lavatories.
Now, what can be found on such a prototype airplane? A kitchen? That's good.
I think it's interesting is how like the whole like ceiling, you know, all the isolation right here, so discolored. Is that because of the nicotine? They must have like smoked so much on board here.
And of course, millions of computers. That hasn't changed till nowadays. These were used, of course, for one, to gamble.
5 reasons to not quit your gambling addiction. Number 5.
And also, to record all the in-flight parameters of this plane. That's very important. For example, they noticed in the early stages of testing that the wings would flutter a lot in the flutter testing, and so they had to get rid of that.
Now everybody, isn't this a pilot's dream indeed right here? Take a look at these ballast barrels. I think that's enough storage to store 1 million beers, right? Machen, das ist irgendwie informativ. So this is interesting, you know, to test the different weight and balance configurations this airplane can be in. I mean, there are some that it's definitely not supposed to be in. So there you go. 1 million beer. What do you think about this luxury seating arrangement?
I would kill myself.
At least it has an ashtray so you can smoke a lot of weed.
Now, later on in the 70s, after the 747 was already flying as a type, this airplane became the biggest tanker in the world.
Now, something I definitely did not know about the 747 prototype was that, well, it actually had a refueling probe so it could refuel other airplanes. And here we actually see the refueling operation station. And it really didn't know that the 747 did such a thing. I mean, technically the 747 could have refueled a 747, the Air Force One.
To be very honest though, this is kind of fake, because this was kind of like just a concept. It never had tanks to actually fill up planes, which just kind of, I don't know, to test the idea, which didn't turn out anyway. Yes, for the next 20 years, Boeing used this prototype airplane as sort of a test bed. For example, it was used in the development of the 747 Air Force One, and also to test the Pratt & Whitney 4000 engines in the 80s. You know, the ones that we know of the 777. The airplane was retired in 1995, but overall, the plane did not fly a lot at all, but it changed the world a lot. The 747.
Somebody bought a thorough tour of the Boeing 747-100 prototype. Definitely minus aura though that you cannot go upstairs. I mean, I have not seen an aviation museum where that is totally impossible, but I guess, you know, some people are just fat here, so they would probably break the stairs. So everybody, in the pouring rain, we're leaving the Seattle Museum of Flight. Honestly, this was all right, but the problem is that 80% of the airplanes here are not actually visitable. Like, they just stand there for no reason, the 787, the 727, and the 737. I guess maybe that's due to the bad timing of my visit. Another airplane that is not exhibited right now is the Comet, which has been in restoration for 100,000 years now. I would have loved to see the first jet airliner in real life. Didn't really happen. So I mean, what do you think about this aviation museum experience?
I would say I expected more. Digga, was soll ich denn auch sagen, aber...
0 to 10?
Maybe 6?
I think I would give this also a 7, actually.
Yeah, so...
I was not, considering it's the most prestigious aviation museum in the world, the fact that we were able to only see like 3 planes in detail, that's a bit of a disappointment. Alright, so everybody, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow as always. Good night.
Digga, was ich hier gerade
Ich sehe halt aus wie ein purer Kopf ohne Haare.